Twelve, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi again. Well, we're thinking about taking a shakedown cruise, so to say, and see how our Winnie and we do being out for a couple of weeks. Before I get into the details, I need to take a quick run over to a local airfield. I sure do love the sound of a radial engine. Wow, check it out, a B-17 World War II Flying Fortress bomber. The sentimental journey. My mom's uncle served in one of these in the 365th Bomb Group. His aircraft was called Reichsruhen. Their theater of operation was Europe during the war. If I remember correctly, he was awarded the DFC, Distinguished Flying Cross, for valor. More than half of the young men that served there never made it home. It wasn't something he ever spent much time talking about. I really enjoy spending time talking to these guys and ladies, and I'm honored that they trust me to be their parachute rigger. Aviation is one of those aspects of life that require you and the folks who work in this discipline to be right every time. That is, if you want to live long enough to enjoy its beauties. I'm here to give you a quick little discussion on what to do about that expensive seat cushion you guys all have. About an hour later, the presentation is over. I think it went great. And it's time to get over to the dealers and grab our RV after a few warranty tweaks. Then head back home to prepare for our trip. Before we get on the road, just a few minor modifications I wanted to work on. On this trip, we're thinking of taking 2 or more weeks to hit some places in our neighboring state of California. My wife's parents, Jim and Julie, have a brand new travel trailer and are anxious to shake down their rig as well, so we can caravan. We're looking at hitting a few thousand Trails RV parks on this trip. With Cali fuel prices so much higher, we're planning on stopping on the Arizona side of the border for fuel and a leg stretch, then on to our first stay at the Palm Springs RV Resort, right off of I-10, about a 5-hour drive and a little over 300 miles. The whole trip should add about 900 or so miles to the RVs. It's comforting and more fun to travel with a buddy system. Being new to RVing, we found the spaces a little tight, especially with palms everywhere. But as usual, there were lots of friendly RVers, ready and willing to help. We spent a week in the park and I learned a lot about dodging palm trees with my new drone. Found out that it's a great way to strike up a conversation with folks out for a walk. Good thing it'll fly, hover, hands off, when someone breaks your concentration.
what you're saying, huh?
Yeah.
Get a mic up on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting video.
Right next door to the park was an RV sales lot. We found a beautiful motorhome someone had traded in on a newer model with a very good salesman who worked awful hard at trying to talk us into trading up. In the end, we stuck with our Winnie. Maybe someday. We had been watching the weather carefully as we were planning to drive to Idlewild in the mountains about 2 hours away. Only 50 miles, but the weather reports were predicting snow and the need for chains on trucks and trailers. This was a good time to take our alternate route. Oxanita Springs, further south, was showing passable roads and better weather. We broke camp and headed south by the Salton Sea, and then west again to intersect the route to the Springs campground. This turned out to be much warmer with much less snow, but a lot of San Diego Valley folks had parked alongside the narrow 2-lane road to play in the shade snow. A somewhat intense trip up the mountain from the sea. The dogs had a lot to say on that leg. We arrived 5 hours later, 118 white-knuckled miles on what would have probably taken 3 hours in a car. Oxanita RV campground nestled in the Cuyamaca Mountains, about 4,000 feet, just east of San Diego. This was another 1,000-trailed park and quite beautiful. We experienced a couple days of mist and didn't get the drone much higher than 50 feet due to the cloud cover.
Who got in there? Willie. Hey, Willie. Willie boy.
Jim and I had a pretty good time taking one of the guided nature hikes and learned a lot about the area. We drove into Cuyamaca one afternoon to check out a small store and eatery. Picked up a few trinkets. While everyone at the restaurant was friendly, you could tell that the locals at the boat rental area weren't overjoyed with the touristy types.
Mountain has a strawberry, rhubarb, apple, blackberry, and raspberry. Well, that's
We woke up one morning to a thin blanket of snow, but never had to use our furnace. The full-service sites we were in provided more than enough electricity to take the edge off the cold with the Winnie's electric fireplace. Back to our RVs for a few more days of relaxing and watching one of the Rangers fly his FPV racing drone, and we pulled up stakes and started back for home. Just a piece of advice for what it's worth. The road, 79 to 8, was shorter, wider, and much more pleasant drive than the road 78 coming up from the Salton Sea. It would be well worth your while to skip the white-knuckle route and take one from 8. It's longer in miles to go around from the north, but much shorter in driving time and a whole lot less stressful. We stopped in Yuma for fuel and another stretch, then continued home uneventfully, enjoying our 2-week camp adventure, no worse for the wear.